Hello, welcome to the Agency Download Podcast, where we have real conversations about the advertising marketing industry. I'm your host, James Williams. Today, I'm joined by Rob Enright, who's the president and co-owner of the Word Group, an independent media planning and buying agency. And just thank you so much for being on the show with us today. I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to this conversation.
Yeah, James, thanks for having me. Looking forward to it.
Awesome. You've been in the media buying space like your whole career. Everything's been dedicated to the media planning, buying, advertising space. Would love to know what's been some of your just guiding principles and values that you've learned throughout your career that continue to kind of help you navigate the advertising and marketing industry today.
Yeah, so that's a great question. And we don't market ourselves around this, but we're a faith-based or faith-led company. So with that comes, in my opinion, a certain level of responsibility just in the way you conduct yourself, be it, whether it's in meetings or if, face to face with a client or behind the scenes with how you handle the books and all that. So, we just really prioritize that integrity and transparency and just really being above board and really going to work, putting your best foot forward with everything you do. And I always tell my team, you treat every dollar as if it's your own. And, the decisions you make should be, the same decisions you would make if it was your money on the line. And so that's just kind of the way that we approach things day in and day out.
Awesome. I love that. And really, I think it develops really the foundation of, I think, every good relationship, which is trust. Is that when
Absolutely.
I can know 100% that I can trust you with my money, my ad campaign,
Your
whatever my
brand, right?
objective is, my brand, that I can form a good relationship with you. And coming from that faith background and foundation is your guiding light for making, I'm sure, a lot of different decisions throughout your career, even when
No,
it's hard
absolutely.
to make, right? I've definitely experienced that as well as oftentimes those that what really makes up your character is like the decisions when it's the hardest to make. It's easy to make the easy decision, right?
Yeah.
But the hard decisions are the one where it really makes and you have to keep looking at yourself every day in the mirror of like, did I make the right decision
Yeah,
and own up
exactly.
to
It's
everything?
yeah, what do you do when no one's watching, you know?
Yeah. Yep. Foundational character. I think I learned that in Pop Warner football in sixth grade, and
There you
that's
go.
definitely stuck with me for a long time. Just looking back throughout your kind of career, like you've seen a lot of technology changes
Absolutely.
and obviously we're in the middle of I think a huge one with the whole AI revolution, everything. But
Mhm.
how have you kind of adapted your kind of viewpoint of managing your team, your clients with any big technology? Like you've seen the transition of, heavy TV and radio to digital, the dot-com boom, and now we're in this AI boom. How have you approached those big technology landscape changes?
Yeah, I mean, I think the one constant in our industry is change and technology has obviously hugely impacted what we do from an advertising standpoint. Our agency little tagline is, "We've been buying media since rabbit ears were high tech." We've seen a lot of technology changes come and go, and we do our best to stay kind of at the forefront of what's going on. I think it's impossible to be at the forefront because it does change so fast, and the way that technology has impacted and continues to impact our business, what we do day in and day out. And then on top of what it's doing in advertising, it's what is it doing to the brands that we serve and how are they being impacted? And
Mhm.
what does that mean for us as marketers on their behalf? Yeah, I mean, I've said many times it's almost a full-time job just staying in tune with the technology that's out there, how it might apply for one client versus another, or in this situation versus that situation, and just trying to be educated so that you can put the foot forward when it comes to planning for your clients. So yeah, it's an ongoing thing. I don't have the perfect answer for how we do it, how we juggle it all, but it's definitely something that we prioritize. And well, one thing that we do is we maintain an open door policy when it comes to vendors. So as an agency, we're completely vendor and platform agnostic. Um, but the tech companies, the media companies, they know that they can reach out and connect with us, and our door is always going to be open to hear what they have going on, what are they proposing, what are the new solutions that they're bringing to the table. And I think that kind of communication and that open door policy kind of helps keep us abreast of changes and things going on. It's happening at such a speed now that the change and the new technology that it's. I mean, you could probably start a cottage industry for advertising professionals just in synthesizing all those changes and making it available because it's definitely something that we have to contend with.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a big way we actually started, we started our agency in, like, 2015, and it was right in the middle of, like, the programmatic boom, and
Hmm.
there's just hundreds of ad techs popping up all over the place, and it was really difficult, I think, for a lot of agencies and brands just to understand, like, which ad techs should we use? And I think your approach of, like, having an um, open door policy and a technology agnostic approach is the best way because you can figure out pretty quickly, I think, which are like the real players that have a solution and which don't, frankly, or maybe not best fit for your client base, which is one of the biggest challenges.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, like I've always said that everybody's number one at something. So
yeah,
you've got to get through, the sales pitch and really understand exactly what it is that they're offering and what how their offering differs from, the competitors. But yeah, it's a great way to keep that communication open and understand a little better about what's going on and what are the additional tools that are out there that could potentially help,
yeah,
take a client to the next level.
absolutely. I think I got in at such like a lucky time frame where I worked underneath like old school kind of TV radio buyers. And it's just interesting to me. I don't know if you've experienced this, but they had such a different approach and perspective to like the vendors. Whereas they were like watchdogs. They felt like they had to represent the brand and protect the brand and the client and their budgets. And the vendors were there to sell, but they had to sift through what was good to buy, what was bad to buy, what was a good rate, what wasn't. And I feel like now, because we're in this always on media phrase where you can just access Meta ads, ad platform, Google ads. They even give you courses and certifications on how to appropriately use their ad platform. Is
Hmm.
that I think like the modern media buyer that's just learned Facebook ads, Google ads loses that watchdog perspective of that we have to oversee and make sure these dollars are being spent effectively for the client's right objective, and not just we're just going to set thing campaigns up because that's the way this ad platform says to set it up or
Right.
that ad platform says to set things up where it could end up wasting budget that way. Have you experienced that or kind of see anything similar with type of clients or campaigns you've worked on?
Yeah, I mean, and that's what these platforms want to do, right? They're all you've got self-serve options with everything, and anybody can log in, set up an account, and start spending money with these platforms today, and that's what they want, right? The Googles and Metas of the world didn't become what they are without making it easy for people to spend money with it. So I think that's a big thing that advertisers and campaign managers have to watch out for is that all of the automation, it's not always in the advertiser's best interest, and you really have to look and be mindful of what are the levers that you still can and should control and be looking at very closely. And there's a time and a place for automation, certainly, but you've got to have human oversight. You got to understand the platform well enough to know which levers need to be pulled for what, and make sure you've got all your I's dotted and your T's crossed going in. Take advantage of those things that can help you be more productive, but don't be completely reliant on the set it and forget it type of approach. That's usually not going to end well, and it typically doesn't keep clients around for very long.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we're getting to the point where a brand could set it and forget it and just let it run now. And I
Yeah.
think if you start looking at the AIs are getting better and better. There's some good of that, but there's also some bad because they can automate so much of the manual work that probably used to do as media buyers to optimize campaigns. But the strategic benefit of having a media buying agency or an ad agency, I think still and will continue to be, even through this AI automation revolution we're in the middle of, is having that strategic insight of knowing what to push back on the ad platforms for or what to
Hmm.
control for so that they don't just waste money and waste ad budget. Because Meta and Google and all the other ad platforms are fundamentally a sales organization.
Yep.
They're not
Absolutely.
we're a service to get you the best results. I think that's where the ad agencies live, or they should live, is we're a
Hmm.
service to get you better results, better outcome. Versus they're a sales organization, spend as much money on our platform as possible so we have better quarterly earnings. And I think that's the opportunity for a lot of agencies is when they're looking at AI, how do we compete with AI, or what's our benefit to brands, is having that watchdog strategic mentality is, I think, going to be a huge focus over the next couple of years.
Yeah, I totally agree. And, AI is not going anywhere. It's only going to become more and more part of what we're doing from an advertising standpoint. So, you need to figure out where you fit within all of that and where's the value that you are able to continue to bring to the table. I mean, one thing that AI does not have mastered yet is common sense, right?
Yeah.
So, there's certain things that are just happening day in and day out through the course of a campaign, or conversations that are had that could push strategy in one direction or another, and AI can't account for all of those things. So, that human in the loop is can't be overstated, and it's necessary anytime you're using AI for anything, but especially in what we do, and just making sure that you're grounded in what the brand needs and what the brand's objectives are, and you understand ways that paid media can help get clients there, and just staying on top of the things that really just require a little human touch, and not everything can be automated.
No, not everything can be automated. And I think it still takes a really savvy strategic marketer and media buyer, ad agency to really move brands because everybody's going to be able to use the algorithms and the AI. It's open source. Pretty much everybody gets access to the same level. There's no price difference. So everybody gets access to it, but it's how you use it that makes the difference. It's the devil's in the details. It's the little things that make the biggest difference. I think widen the gap between what one advertiser or brand does versus another. So I think that's the opportunity. But
And that's also, kind of to your point, James, that's what makes AI like just about every other tech thing that's come along, or trend, or revolution, or whatever you want to call it. It's how you utilize it. It's
Mhm.
being able to really tap into it and maximize its uses is critical. So, I mean, that's a new aspect of where we are as marketers, is we have to have some kind of understanding of AI to really be successful as well, because it does have limitations, and you need to be aware of those types of things, and it all factors in. So, I don't sit here today thinking that we're all going to be replaced by AI. More than I think that of creatives and other things. I think it just changes the role, changes the expectation, and in a lot of ways changes what we have to focus on ourselves, and what we're learning, and the skill set that we're developing.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I know you guys buy also a lot of traditional still, right? You still buy a lot of linear, out of home, all of those. What could you just share kind of like what's your approach? Like if a brand's considering, should I put everything into digital or should I still invest into some traditional media? What's your kind of approach or test or analysis do you do to just help decide for brands of how much budget should you put in traditional versus digital per channel? What's
Yeah.
your guys' planning framework or approach for that?
Yeah, so we've been at this since 1985, so deep roots in traditional media, and I think it gives us a really good perspective as an agency, and being able to help clients navigate that entire media landscape of everything online and offline. So yeah, I mean, the approach. I mean, there are clients that we'll know right from the get go they're not going to have the budgets to be able to effectively buy a TV campaign or radio, or whatever the case might be, and we certainly have many clients that are digital only, and we get that. But if we're talking about something on a larger scale, where we can see a media mix that's going to include both traditional and digital channels, there's all kinds of questions that go into that. Obviously, it starts with client objectives, and just trying to understand exactly what we're trying to accomplish with whatever budget level we might have, and then looking what are our creative limitations, if any, that might dictate some aspects of the
Hmm.
media mix. And then from there, reviewing, is there historical campaign data that we can pull from to see what's worked for this client in the past, and what are the implications of that on what we're going to do moving forward. And then it's running analysis to look at what are we going to need, what budget level for this particular channel to be effective, whether we're analyzing the reach and frequency outcomes or actions or whatever, or the audience delivery in one channel versus another. I mean, there's so many different factors that go into it, and you're really having that broad view of the media landscape gives us an opportunity to really pull in various aspects of media to help address those things.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think that that's probably the biggest one is sometimes there's the clients that want everything with a small budget. They have champagne dreams and hopes, but they have like apple cider budget level.
Yep.
I don't know. It's probably a better analogy or metaphor than that, but I think that's one of the biggest challenges really measuring is how effective is this medium going to be or this ad channel going to be at different budget levels. I think is always a really big challenge for any advertiser to kind of swallow or to understand
Right.
is how much should I really invest and do I have the budget to invest that compared to what I
Hmm.
get from other ad channels?
Very true.
Yeah, what are you kind of looking at forward to? What do you kind of see? Obviously, we talked about the AI revolution, and everything, but what do you think in the next kind of 2 3 years? How does the media planning buying space evolve? What do you think the opportunities are, and maybe some challenges facing the media planning buying space?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I look at AI as an opportunity. I think you have to, as it's here and it's not going away. So finding ways to harness the power of AI to make us all better in how we're
Hmm.
serving our clients, I think is critical. One of the biggest trends in advertising for some time now has been fragmentation, and I think that's going to continue to be a challenge. And just like we were just talking about, as we look at across media channels, then within each channel, the number of platforms is fragmenting more and more. There's more options out there for the consumer, and obviously, for the advertiser in trying to reach those consumers. So that's a huge challenge. I mean, dollars are hard to come by, budgets aren't infinite, and you can't be everywhere. So, as agencies, we have to really be buttoned up in how we're advising our clients on where to invest those dollars across the litany of options that are out there in the world. So, and I think that's probably just going to continue. Even we may see some consolidation in some areas, but I think we'll see, innovation and new opportunities in others. And I think that will be a trend that we just continue to have to figure out how to navigate.
Yeah, absolutely. Media fragmentation's huge. I think that's where almost like AI's the solution to a lot of these problems is that not many brands have enough budget to do everything that they need to do or want to do. But as these AI algorithms get better, whether that's content or just production or anything else, does that give the advertiser to create more content, do more vehicles, more media channels? I think one of the biggest challenges, especially in the media fragmentation world, is you really want content. I think, my opinion, especially in the media buying space, you want content that fits the ad platform or the individual channel, right? You don't want to take like TV, ad made for TV and put it on TikTok. That
Right.
generally doesn't get a good response or engagement results that way. But does AI allow advertisers and brands that previously wouldn't have been able to create as many versions, as many different types of styles of ads that fit all these different ad platforms based on their previous budgets? But now, because AI is so good at producing content, often
Mm,
maybe a single or few pieces of content, that allows them to do more. And now they can actually handle the media fragmentation. Their production cost is lower so they can invest more in media.
yeah.
And that's been my experience with a lot of brands is that they over invest in production and content and they under invest in media.
Mm, yeah.
And like you could produce the best ads in the world, but if nobody sees them, what impact is that
Right. Now you're
gonna
preaching to the
that's what
choir now, James.
yeah, I know, right? We're the we're on the same boat for sure, right in the
But I think
waving the same
you're
flag.
spot on though in identifying a great use of AI for productivity and being able to lower those production and creative costs and be more on point with the content that you're putting out so that you can take a brand into more platforms and overcome a little bit of that fragmentation issue. But yeah, like you said earlier, they can't be everywhere that they want or need to be in all cases. In most cases, with most clients, they just don't, again, budgets aren't infinite. So
Exactly.
you gotta figure out how can we effectively cover as many of the bases as possible.
Yep, no doubt. One of the most, I think, the most exciting mediums and ad channels that's continuing to rise and getting more and more popular is connected TV. Could you share any insights, learnings, your guys' approach around connected TV for brands and advertisers of maybe brands and advertisers maybe that haven't gone into the connected TV space? I think one of the biggest benefits and transitions we've seen is that smaller brands that used to maybe not be able to advertise on TV because of they're limited on budgets. So linear and cable was kind of out of reach for them. I think they can participate in CTV. You get the digital advertising capabilities as Meta and Google, but on connected TV. Like, what have you guys seen just success wise? What are you guys excited about in the connected TV space?
Yeah, so as an agency several years ago, we kind of made a paradigm shift as it relates to particularly when streaming audio and streaming television, CTV came on the scene and just really shifted to more of a video and audio mindset versus broadcast television versus connected TV. It's at the end of the day, the consumer half the time doesn't even know what they're where they're consuming their content from, what the origin source is, right? They're looking for the content and they don't care how they're getting it. So we have to kind of take that mindset when we're planning media and when we're negotiating and buying for campaigns. We try to round out a campaign with a combination of both broadcast and CTV when possible. And same thing on the audio side, terrestrial radio and streaming audio work hand in hand. Because a lot of times we're talking about, very little overlap, very unique audiences. Getting back to the point about fragmentation. Yes, you can put together a campaign that's strictly focused on streaming audio or CTV or whatever, but there is an audience you're going to be missing, and vice versa, right? If you're just focused on broadcast and terrestrials. So yeah, it's just kind of a mindset shift that we made several years ago, and again, like I was saying earlier, we understand not every brand's going to have the money to do broadcast television. And in some cases, there might be too much waste in that anyway, based on the reach that you're paying for relative to the uh, where your core audience really is potentially located, which is a beauty of the streaming products because we can really hone in geographically speaking, not even to mention all the demographic layers that you can put on there. So yeah, again, it's just having the wherewithal to roll up your sleeves and really look at what makes the most sense for the budget that you have to work with and what you're trying to achieve for any particular brand.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially for I think local advertisers in particular. Being on TV, I think, is a huge opportunity that many local advertisers aren't because of the geographic nature and because you get seen on the biggest screen in the household amongst
Exactly. Yeah.
premium shows and TV is that is such a premium environment to be on. Whereas there's so much competition. I think one of the biggest stats I saw recently was that 20% of the budget, or let me say it this way, 80% of the budget is spent on walled garden advertising, so Google, Meta, etc. 80% of the budget spent on those, but only 40% of the time spent is on those platforms. Meta, Google, TikTok, etc. And then you have 20% of the budgets are being spent on outside of those walled gardens, social media platforms,
Yeah.
but 60% of the time is being spent on what I would call open internet
Mm,
inventory, so or sites and apps. So all and that's mainly because the rise of connected TV and streaming audio, and then also just the use of different mobile apps and display and everything. Is that I think that creates a huge opportunity where there's less competition and you can reach very specific audiences through all those different ad channels.
Well, and another thing that's happening at the same time that's factoring into that is, again, getting back to AI. With AI overviews and search, consumers have to spend less and less time on Google. They don't have to click on multiple websites to get the information that they're looking for. It's right there, and oftentimes in a single paragraph at the top of the page. So yeah, there's less need for consumers to just endlessly scroll and seek out answers. I think it does definitely. Not only is there that time element, but now we've got the aspect of when it comes to search, at least there's no click search, right? So we're not able to necessarily get our advertising in front of consumers the way we used to. So we're having conversations about channel mix, just strictly because of that. Where are the areas that we might need to divert budget? Because we find click rates have dropped, cost per clicks are going up, and so where do we need to move those dollars to? Maybe a little further up the funnel, like a CTV, or even other things programmatically, so that we can still get the ad messages out in front of enough of the eyeballs that we need to reach. So yeah, there's a lot of interesting things going on that are having an impact on what you're talking about there, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, and, keep changing, and really it's all just changed by what I always tell them is, like, the fundamental principle to me of media planning is just following people where they spend time. If they aren't spending time anymore on newspapers, it doesn't make that much sense to buy newspaper ads. And I think we're kind of in the transition of if people aren't searching and aren't clicking on search ads anymore, we have to question how much budget we invest into search and where else can we find them? What are good opportunities to find them? And I just saw recently that OpenAI was talking about having an ad product within ChatGPT. Like, what does that do from a media buying and strategy and use and opportunity standpoint? They said it's not going to be like Google search style ads, but there's going to be an opportunity to insert ads and influence the chatbots with ads, which is going to be a whole nother mind shift that I
Well,
cannot even
yeah.
fathom right now.
Well, and they've got the, what is it, instant checkout or whatever that is being tested now.
With
So you don't even need an
Shopify?
ad. You don't even need the ad, right? They can just make a purchase right from ChatGPT. So yeah, I mean, it's interesting times, and we're all, as consumers, we're all about convenience and instant gratification. There's no one better at answering that than the tech companies. Big tech has definitely done well in feeding that desire in all of us as consumers for instant gratification and ease. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this continues to impact things.
Yeah, keep us on our toes always.
Yeah.
You've been obviously you've built and maintained and grew your agency for a long time, but I'd love to know just from somebody who has a long, lengthy career in managing and building an agency, how have you built and maintained the culture? Because I feel that's always a big challenge for agencies, especially independent agencies. Of like, how do you build and maintain the culture, the team, all of that? I know that's been a challenge I've experienced over the years. But what's your kind of approach as the lead and head of the organization?
Yeah, and obviously the pandemic really shook things up when it comes to culture, and a lot of that is carried forward today with virtual environments and remote work and all of that continuing to be prevalent, particularly in our space. I mean, there's a lot of people that are going back into the office these days, but I mean, we're an agency that's chosen to be virtual and stay virtual at this point, and so that's an even higher level of complexity when it comes to maintaining culture. But I think the key to it is just making sure you're staying connected with your people in whatever format that might look like. And good, bad, or otherwise, we have all gotten a lot more comfortable with this screen to screen connection, right? But there are ways, we have standing meetings twice a week that we didn't have before as a full team, and then I have one-on-one meetings with key leadership also in addition to those full team meetings. So yeah, you have to look at ways historically with things that we've done annual retreats. When we were in office, we had wind down on Fridays, so it's our in-house happy hour. Those sorts of things are really valuable for, I think, just being able to step away from the work while you're at work with the people you work with, and being able to connect on a different level. I think that's really important. Knowing what's going on in each other's lives beyond what we're doing day in and day out for our clients is a very important aspect of it. So we've always tried to kind of have a family type culture, and a family first type culture. And, we want to make sure that our people have a time for what's truly important. I mean, at the end of the day, advertising is not life or death, but it's a very easy industry to get completely consumed and burn it at both ends all the time. And so stepping away and making sure that everyone is taking time to connect with their own families and the people that matter to them outside of the work environment is hugely important. But to the extent that we can bring that in as well, we like to do that. I mean, we are regularly talking with each other about what's going on outside of the workplace and what's going on in our families and how can we connect on that level.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, so really focus on deeper connections that really build the relationship, right? Of like, I know more about you, I'm more connected to you, I form better relationships, and that kind of forms a stronger web or link and bond between everybody.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then looking for opportunities to do things as a team outside of the workplace. That's been more challenging in the virtual environment,
Yeah,
because even now, not only are we virtual, but we've got employees that aren't even in the same city anymore, or same states. It's not as easy to just say, "Hey, we're all going to meet up here,"
yeah,
and do this or do that. We used to regularly look for serving opportunities together as a team, go out and serve the community in different aspects. And so that's been a bit of a challenge because we're not able to do that like we did before. But I think those types of things, again, those bonding experiences, and also, doing something for something that's beyond yourself or beyond your team, beyond your company, serving the community in some form or fashion is a great way to build culture and build connections and do something good at the same time.
yeah, that's amazing. I mean, just anytime you can give back, you get so much more
Yeah,
just personally and individually because just seeing you're doing something more purposeful and meaningful rather than
exactly.
oftentimes we live in a space where it's online and we're hitting buttons and it's zeros and ones. And, we do serve ads online as a business, which most people don't love ads, although I would say the more relevant ad, more people like, but doing something more meaningful and purposeful to help out others, I think that's a way to really build culture and connection is doing that as a
Totally.
team. So that's amazing. I haven't heard many people talk about doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said earlier, at the end of the day, it's just advertising. It's not life or death.
Yeah,
There's can't allow it to consume us, and we gotta look beyond ourselves. And I mean, there's plenty of need in the world, and you don't have to look too far to find something to go out and have an impact on.
absolutely. I love to ask this question, but if you could sit down with your younger self and give your younger self a piece of advice, what would that advice have been?
I guess what I was just talking about, probably could have recognized that a little earlier on. The idea or the thought that what we do is it while it is vitally important, and I don't want to downplay it. It's obviously there's billions and billions of dollars that are involved in what we do. But at the end of the day, it's not life or death. Be not just don't just be willing, be make it an imperative that you set boundaries to be able to step away and don't miss out on the truly important things in your family and life outside of the advertising world. It's not going anywhere, and just put those boundaries in place early on, and make sure you're always making time for what's truly important.
Absolutely. What's most important is key. 'Cause oftentimes you look back 5, 10 years ago, the big issues and challenges or I know myself have made huge mistakes on ad campaigns with clients, and you kill yourself in the moment, but then a year goes by, 2 years go by, 5 years, 10 years. It's just a blimp, the smallest blimp on the radar that had
Yeah.
no
If you
impact,
can
and
even
you beat
remember it.
yourself up. You don't even remember it. That's what I mean. I wasted so much like mental torture just killing myself over something small that was, it made a couple people upset or it wasn't ideal, but over the long run, it really had no huge negative impact overall in my life. And I think having that perspective is huge, is because like if you just focus on what's most important, those things kind of get, buried under the rug and you move on pretty quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, that's something I mean, I have to remind myself of it regularly. I'm a perfectionist at the end of the day, so, everything can eat at me pretty quickly. So it's an ongoing, internal conversation that I have to have, and reminding myself that again, it's all going to be okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Just if you could share, how could people work with you, stay connected with you? What's the best way to for people to go about and do that?
Yeah, well, I'm easy to find on LinkedIn. Spend a lot of time on there, so I'm happy to connect with anyone that way. For the agency, the wardgroup.media is our website. Most social channels we're on there as Ward Group Inc. But yeah, would welcome connections with anyone in your audience, and appreciate the opportunity to spend some time with you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Rob. Appreciate you.
Yeah, take care.